me introduce our guest speaker. Her name is Orsi.
Perfect.
Yay!
Oh!
I got it right. So Orsi, I met her at an event called the Powerful Women's Network, Business Networking, and indeed she is formidable. She spoke so well on that day, and I thought, wow, we must connect. And it so happened we met each other again at the train station.
Yes.
And that's where we really connected. She came and spoke at the Deptford Book Club last month.
And you were there, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yes, you were there, and Annette was there as well, so I remember. I remember.
Excellent. So Orsi, who is she? She's an entrepreneur. She's a business coach. She's an international speaker and the founder of the Mega Success Expo, which is a big event that happens once a year. She's a specialist in social media. She can talk about all things to do with business, strategy. So there's a lot we're going to learn from her. So I would say just have an open mind, have your notebooks ready, and just listen. And I know she likes things to be really interactive. So let's open ourselves and be ready as we receive Orsi to come and speak to us this evening.
Thank you, everyone. I decided that I'm gonna do something different, so I came with a new present. I wouldn't really necessarily call it a presentation, but I would like to share my journey as an entrepreneur, because I do believe that yes, we do read these lovely books, and we do listen to coaches, and we listen to high-level people. But what is when you're there and you're actually grinding and hustling while you have a job, while you have a family and you have to look after your kids and whatever can come up. So I thought that I will tell you that how the meaning of success has changed for me throughout my entrepreneurial journey. Yes, I am very fortunate because I can do what other people see that whatever she wants to do, but I don't think that that's necessarily the truth or the exact truth behind it. I made a decision 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago when I decided to leave my job and start or continue my entrepreneurial journey as full-time. And boy, I thought, and girls, I thought that it's going to be so awesome. And I said to my colleagues, because they were asking that you don't have another job? I resigned. It was very interesting because I set a date when I'm going to resign. And I had a flip chart, and that date was on it. And early August morning, I went into work, and I knew that the panic attack is coming, because I can't fulfill the job that I should be doing, and it was out of my power. The systems were not working, the internet was not working, and my job was highly based on internet. My laptop was slow, and my boss was there that you have to deliver the job, and I'm like, I cannot do it, and that's out of me. And I got so emotional that I wrote my resignation email and I pressed send. Now, Gabor.
Before that, you sent me a message.
Yes, he was working. He was working. He was doing his business in South Africa, and I sent him a message that I just resigned. I hope you're okay with it, because we did not discuss. The date, which was on the flip chart at home, was November, middle of November, and this was early August. And anyway, it was gone. It was a very sudden thing that happened to me. I always been known someone who controls everything. I know what I'm doing. I know when I'm doing it. But it just came very, very sudden. And I do remember, I have goosebumps now, but I was shaking after I actually pressed the send. And I'm like, there is no way back. I can't recall that email anymore, you know? My boss might have already read it. And anyway, my boss called me because a couple of days before this, I negotiated with my job Because I was saying that I don't want to be in different offices. Every day I had to go to a different office in London. Usually it took me 2.5 hours just to get to one office. Then imagine going back. And I was like, traveling for 5 hours for what? So I said to my boss that, look, I'm not doing this unless I'm going to be based in one office. So he arranged it, but he arranged it to the furthest office. So obviously I sent my resignation email, and 2 days later I got a call, and he was like, what the F you done? I have just arranged you to be in one office. And I'm like, yes, but there is nothing that this company can give me. And then he goes like, you know what, I'm so proud of you. I was like, shit. Like, what's going on? And he goes like, I don't know which office you are in, but look around. There are several people in the offices who are going to spend another 10 years there, effing miserable, because they are not brave enough to step out. Next question, he goes like, do you have another job lined up? And I'm like, no. Like, I have literally nothing. It was so emotional decision, and I had so fed up. And he was like, good, I'm even more proud of you. So then 1 month later, I stopped working officially. And I thought that, okay, that's really good. My colleagues were asking them, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to travel around the world. And it did happen. But there was one thing that I haven't anticipated. And I think that most of us don't really prepare for it. That once you are doing your own business, whatever it might be, and you don't have a job, then you're actually not working 8 hours. You're working 16 hours. You're working 20 hours a day. And then you go like, I have to do this, I have to do that. I don't have budget for this, so I have to learn that. And now I have to do that other task as well. So yeah, this is something that usually these books, and I'm talking generally, they don't really talk about it. You know that, well, there is grind behind it. There is so many things that you have to do next to it. And it's a very, very, very hard journey. Funny enough, I'm qualified as a teacher, so that's my qualification. But as business coach, I don't have any qualification. But I think I'm qualified because I'm doing the job. You know, I go out, I set up businesses, and now I'm doing whatever it might be. Of course, in the beginning, it wasn't like that. The very first job, work I got, I didn't even know that it's called business coaching. There was a Hungarian franchise company here in the UK, and because I was buying the products, the franchise owner knew me, and there was a big palaver around the business, and he contacted me on Facebook and said that I want to meet you. So I was very excited. I'm like, oh, this big guy wants to meet me, like, hey, what's going on? So we met, and he said that, look, I need your help because most of our customers are Hungarians. You know how Hungarians are behaving, how they're buying, etc., etc. I need your help. And we agreed that I'm going to go to his business and make some changes. And that was my first coaching work. But at the time, I didn't know that it's called business coaching. I had no idea. All I knew that the place was in a mess, literally, how they dealt, how they sent out products, and I straight away saw that what can be the solution for it. And I didn't just see it, but I could set up a process or a system, whatever you want to call it, and I was able to implement it. I was able to teach it to people, and then suddenly we noticed that the customer complaints reduced by 93%. And that was a big thing. And then suddenly we saw that, okay, what products we can sell online, because the shop was in a really bad area. It was selling low-carb products, and products which has no sugars or sugar in it, or added sugar to be precise. And it was very, very interesting because the products are based on Hungarian culture. Now, what Hungarians do, they love cook. We love cooking. Like, you know, if you come to my place, I ain't gonna buy out. I'm gonna start everything from scratch. So obviously, the business was based on the Hungarian culture, but they wanted to come to the UK because that's so vast. It's posh. It's London. London is a really good marketing tag. And then they didn't realize that the culture here is very, very different. You ain't gonna see an English mom cooking at home and using flour and baking, putting together a dough. That ain't gonna happen here. Unless they go to the bake-off competition, right? But what they're gonna do, they're gonna buy the food in Tesco, put it in the microwave, put it in the oven, job done, right? So that was one of the biggest mistake of the company, that they didn't check that where we are going, you know, what's the culture there. So, and I think that you guys can understand that because you are coming from a culture where you cook, like, you know, it's. You're not gonna buy the half-cooked rice, Uncle Ben's rice, right? Because you have rice put at home and then you cook the rice. So that was one of the failure of this company. The other was that they have set the company up in Walthamstow. Now, if you know Walthamstow, and it was on the high street, but towards the end of the high street, which is very, very Arabic area. Now, Arabic people, what do they like? They like their strong coffee and baklava, which is a very sugary food. Okay? They don't really care about their waist. They not necessarily want to be slim because the culture is so different. So just imagine bringing something which is healthy and does have a valid point in the UK, but you have a shop in the wrong place. Now, if this shop would have been in central London, or let's say around Canary Wharf, but not selling flowers, right? But like, you know, sandwiches or whatever, then it could have been successful. So when I went there, the franchise owner asked me that he understood what I straight away said that, you know, it's not gonna work. There's not much we can do, but we can reduce the customer complaints because there was so many complaints. And there was no order in it that how people can complain. So like 2 weeks later, they would complain after delivery of the flour that the flour box was damaged. And I'm like, yeah, but the flour itself didn't come out. So what, like? And all the assistant done was refunding. So it was like refund after refund. And I'm like, no, you can't refund everything. Like, it doesn't work like that. So we resolved the customer complaints, and then we put a very simple strategy together. And this is one lesson for you guys, that business is simple. It's just people who overcomplicate it. So what we done, we said that, okay, there's going to be one email address dedicated to complaints. And no one can call mobile numbers because the shop had 2 different mobiles. It had landline, it had about 5 different emails, and people would complain in every bloody channel. So, and of course the assistant was going nuts that, oh my God, how I can handle everything. And then I said that, no, we're gonna stop this. There's going to be one email address. People have 48 hours after receiving their package from the online shop to complain. If they complain, they have to send us evidence, e.g. photos. You know, attach it to the email, and then we will respond within 48 hours. And what we did, that we printed this little rule, And when the lady packed the online shopping, then this was the last note that went into the box. So when people open it, that was the first thing they saw. And that's how we managed to reduce the customer complaint. Very easy. So that was the first success that I really had in my entrepreneurial journey. But then obviously I met my business coach and I started buying coaching lessons and we did God knows how many mastermind. You have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, because it's something you mentioned earlier on, and I've always thought about what's the best way to determine that, because you know, I've been working in a particular sector for a long time, so I know the sector.
Mm-hmm.
But the challenge is, and then the question is about, how do you determine the price you charge for that first contract, having not established credibility, that was your first job, so to speak. So how did you determine how much?
I did a barter.
You did a barter.
I did a barter.
Based on
that I really wanted to go there and do it. So for me, this was a challenge.
Okay.
And I really wanted to see what I can, deliver. So we didn't have money involvement as such.
Okay.
They were not paying me anything.
Okay.
But I made sure that I take my share because I was using those products, so I could literally take any products and as much. I mean, we had the whole freezer full. I made sure that I take my part. But that was the agreement, that I can take whatever I want, whatever product I want, I can take it. But at the same time, it was a challenge. And when you're challenging yourself, and it's not necessarily someone else challenging you, but that's something coming from here, from your gut, then you really want to deliver. You really want to see that whether you can do that or you cannot do it. And I think this is one of the meaning of success to me. But then I started my coaching thing, and I had so many bright ideas. One of the things I had that I was very into sports and getting people together to do exercise, and I organized events, and that was something that I saw that are the big business. And I had visions that I'm gonna have these cafes around London where people can get together, eat healthy food, and then they go out and do exercise. And I paid hell of a lot of money for coaching based on that. But then I said to my coach one day that, you know what? I'm actually not doing exercise myself. So I wasn't aligned with it.
Okay.
And I think that passion might not necessarily make you money. So sometimes you have to do something that you are not passionate about, but it makes your living. But equally, sometimes passion has to just stay passion. And it has to be something that you do and you are in flow, or you enjoy it, or this is something that you do and you don't notice that the time has gone so fast. And then, oh my God, it seems like 5 minutes, but I'm doing this for 3 hours. And sometimes you have to have that, and that might not necessarily be a business. Because I think that sometimes people mixing it, it's not necessarily a passion or something that you really, really enjoy. Yes, you enjoy it for 5 hours, you have a really good time, but you might not enjoy it if you have to do it every single day. So then I said to my coach that, look, financially, we were not really there, and I'm not even doing exercise, so how can I tell you to do exercise if I'm not going out? So that was, not alignment. And my coach said, and that was one of the best things, and if for nothing else, that worth whatever money I spent on these coaching sessions, was that, okay, we're gonna have the coaching session and we're gonna dig deep at what are your values, what you can deliver. And that's where all this business coaching thing happened, and based on processes and setting up systems, which in fact I did it at work, but we just called it different thing. And I'm like, yeah, I love systems. I love setting up that this is how you need to do things, and I don't just like it, but I know, because the proof is there that if you follow these steps, then you get to that result. But if you're just running around like a headless chicken, then probably it's not going to happen. And then I remember the first, and yesterday I was practicing for this speech, and I remember my very first speech, because I wanted to be a speaker, but it doesn't happen like that. There are people who are born to speak, and there are people who are not, and it's the biggest fear in one person. People not fear from death as much as they fear to speak in front of people. But I wanted to challenge myself again, and there is still a networking event. It's again Hungarian based, and I sent an email that, hey, I know that your event is coming up and I'm gonna be there, but I'm kind of like bored that you are bringing speakers from Hungary to here when we actually advanced to Hungary. And I'm like, I'm here, I would be happy to speak. So I sent it with they would never ever going to come back to me. Now guess what, they get back to me and they said that, okay, you have 15 minutes. What do you want to talk about? And I was like, shite. What shall I talk about? And if I think now back, I prepared, I put together a 15 minutes presentation. Oh my God, I couldn't sleep the previous night. And my stomach was never been so small than before. I don't remember anything what happened on this event prior. I was like, oh my God, it's almost time. And what people gonna think about what I say, Do they find it valuable? And
what was the audience size?
The audience size was about 80 people.
Okay.
So it was quite big. And I remember that I stood there and I've done whatever I wanted to do it, but boy, I was shaking. I think that now, if there would have been a recording of it, there is no recording. I think to an extent I'm happy that there is no recording, but another extent it would be nice to see that how confident I became over, practice makes the master. Simple as that. But I do remember, but there is one thing I also remember from this event, that when I said certain things in the presentation, and the owner of the organization, I could see on his face that he is surprised. And it was a good surprise. He was like, oh, really? We could do that? I haven't thought of that. That kind of facial expression. And then I knew that, okay, this was a good decision. I'm not talking gibberish. Funny enough, 6 months later, he reached out to me, and now I am part of the organization, and I'm one of the members who organizes this networking event. So, did it worth it? Yes, of course it worth it. But everything, and I think that when you talk about entrepreneurship, you have to do things, you have to ask for things, you have to create your opportunities, because no one is going to create the opportunities for you. And we always say with Gabor that you only get chocolate if you ask for it. And I recommend you to use this in all parts of your life, because if you don't ask for it, you don't know that they're gonna say yes or no. And if you do a risk analysis and you say that worst case scenario, best case scenario, most likely scenario, then you're not gonna get surprises, because you kind of like prepared for it.
Yep.
So I always say that, ask for that chocolate, whether you can have it, and usually you can have it. But what happens is that we have this fear within ourselves, and we are afraid of asking. that can I take that chips? And you might say that, yeah, of course, I don't want, you can have the whole thing. And maybe you say that, no, I want to eat it, that's it. And there is no problem with it. But that's how it works in business as well. Anyway, that's my experience. So there is another thing I really wanted to share with you. And it's, I love sport and I love running. And I am also 2 marathon runner. So I've run 2 marathons. And one was a very prepared, focused one, and the other wasn't. But running has always been a huge, huge part of my life, which started 6 years ago. And whatever running taught me, I implement that in business. I really wanted to lose weight. I had an emergency operation. I was huge and haven't done any exercise. And I was signed off from work for 3 weeks, and I was sitting at home and just filling my head, my mouth, and my stomach with food. And I was like, okay, you have to do something about it. And what was the simplest thing? Opposite to us, there is a tiny park. Go out and run. Because running is the easiest exercise, right? You just put your trainers on, and that's it. That's what you think. This is what I did, and I ran 3 rounds, which turns out to be like 1 round is like 200 meter, tiny park, and I was out of breath. But anyway, I kind of like started to enjoy it, and I decided that I want to run 5 kilometers, which is roughly about 3 miles, without stopping. And I downloaded a plan from the internet, because internet is our friend and internet knows everything. And I remember that I had it on my wall in the hallway, and I followed that plan as it told me. The first day was half a minute run, 1.5 minute walk. Half a minute run, 1.5 minute walk. And it told me that how many times I had to do it. And this is what I have followed. And eventually I started to get into it. And a couple of weeks later I realized that, well, I can actually run almost a mile continuously without stopping. And without feeling the pain here, And I decided that, okay, I think it was like a 5 or 6 weeks plan, so it was more than a month, longer than a month plan. And I decided that I'm gonna celebrate it to go to a race, one of these amateur race, which is 5 kilometers long. So I applied for it. It was in Battersea Park, and I went there. I think it's funny because I went there, I had no idea about running. I had no idea about running races, how it's organized. And I was amazed because I was wearing my leggings that I got in Primani. I was wearing one t-shirt, which, those t-shirts that maybe you use it for sleeping. You get me? And I was wearing my shoe that I was so proud, and the only reason I got that particular shoe because it was bright pink.
Oh, your color.
So that was I like pink. So I was walking down and, hey, I'm going to run this race. And I looked around and everyone was like in posh running gears. I was like, shit, why are I running trousers? I didn't know about that. Anyway, it didn't take away my enthusiasm. And I went, and my only goal was to run this 5K continuously. And I more or less thought that, okay, I'm going to run it just in about 33, 34 minutes. Well, I ran it much faster because once you are in a race, you are in a different zone. Everyone is there, everyone is enthusiastic, everyone is pulling you. So I ran it like 28 minutes something. And I was so proud of myself. And oh my God, I did it. And I decided that, okay, the next thing is to run the double of it, which is 10 kilometers. So I knew that how long it took me to get ready for 5K, and I checked another race because I quite like this race. I said that, okay, now I have about 2 months to prepare myself, my body for the 10K race. And I went there. This time I had a good running trouser, but still didn't have, I still had the pink shoe. And I did run the 10K. And I run it under 1 hour, which is far much better than I was expecting from myself. And I said that, well, okay, the next in running is to double it up and do half a marathon, which is 13.1 miles, 21K. But I took time with that. And in between, I met Gabor, and we started going out, running together. And then one day I was very upset because he left me. He lived outside of London. I was like, let's just apply for a half marathon. So I did apply for myself, but for himself as well. And I called him that, you know what, in, I don't know, a month's time we are running a half marathon. And he was like, oh shit, I don't know what he was thinking real, but...
Exactly that.
So anyway, we went to New Forest. And one of the things that we haven't checked, and it happened to us several times, and it happened to us in business as well. So here is another lesson to learn, that we never checked where exactly the race is and what is the surface like. Is it flat or not? Now, this particular was in New Forest, and only the first 1 mile was flat. The rest of it, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I had stomach problems and everything, but we still did it, we still completed, we still pushed each other. And then I said, after finishing the race, that the next level is a full marathon. But I was clever by then, because everything that I learned through running and preparing and stuff like that, I knew that, okay, this is not going to happen in a month or 2 months' time. It's not. It's a big chunk. Running a full marathon is huge. And I had some injuries as well, and I decided that I'm going to find a coach. So it took me 2 months to actually find a right running coach, who turned out to be like living from me 10 minutes away. And someone recommended me to him. So it was very interesting how it went around. And then I got a message from him saying that, hey, I heard that you are looking for a running coach. I would be happy to, check you out and then advise you. So we had the first appointment. I went there. I was so enthusiastic. This is like a big thing, my coach. And he said that, yeah, let's go out running. So we went out running, and he recorded me on video. And after that, we went back to his place, and he analyzed me. And this is what he said. He goes like, what you know about running, you have to forget completely, and you have to learn how to run. Because what you have been doing up till now is the direct result of it that you have an injury. And I was like, what? I'm running like everyone can run. Yeah, I'm putting my legs one after the other. And he goes like, yeah, but running is a science. How you land determines that what injuries you would get. And at the moment, how you are running, you are actually destroying your whole spine. I was like, shit. But I've been running like a year. And he goes like, yeah, but I've been running for 40 years.
Oh dear.
I'm like, okay, so who am I? Yeah, who am I to question that, yes, you can become an expert in a short period of time, but if someone has been into business for that so long and they do it day in, day out, then I'm not, and I'm like, you know what, you are the coach. This is why I came to you. So he said that, yeah, I'm happy to write you a plan. What's your goal? So we discussed what's my goal. We gave enough time, so I had almost like a year to prepare for it. And he also suggested to get a personal trainer, because running is one thing, but to carry your body through 26 miles is a long way, and you have to have your core strong enough. So I found a personal trainer. Together they put together 2 plans, so I had to follow 2 plans. And off I went, started training. For 6 months, I was literally training. Everything was about marathon. My colleagues hated me because I only talked about what races I'm going, what time I have to run today, how long I have to run, and I can get that now. But then, in the middle of the preparation, I got a cold. And I pushed myself to go out, but my coach said that no. Your body is telling you to rest. So, recover from cold, and then we can continue. Recovering from cold would take you like a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that sofa was so comfortable, So it became 2 weeks.
Oh dear.
And then 2.5 weeks. And 3 weeks. And every week I should have sent my training plans, what results I had for that week, to my coach. So my coach sends me an email that, what's going on? I haven't seen your plan for 3 weeks. What's going on? And I'm like, you know what? I don't think I can do this. Like, I really don't. I'm not even enjoying it. And then I started to come up with excuses. And he went like, no, you came to me because you had a goal. Mm-hmm. So you better go out. I'm going to rearrange the training plans because you can't start it where you should be now. Mm-hmm. You had 3 weeks out, so we have to adjust the plan, but you have to continue because you have a goal. And there is a lesson here, because in business, how many times we say this? Like, it's not important anymore, right? I can't be bothered. Oh, there is this family celebration, or I have to take my kids to school, or whatever. But if you have a coach, then that coach would be next to you and would kick your ass just at the right time, that you know what, it's your goal. It's not the coach's goal, it's your goal. And you have to just keep doing it, because if you don't do it and you put in so much work. So just imagine, I put 3 months of very hard work into, and money, and the time that I spent with my trainers and whatever, for what? Not continuing it? Like, you can't do that. You can't do that to yourself, because at the end of the day, it's not you're not proving it to anyone else apart from yourself. No one is there to justify you that, yeah, this is what you should be doing. It's you. So I said that, okay. I went back. I started running, and then I went to run my first marathon, which was back in Hungary, and I did achieve my goal, which was anything under 5 hours. So that was my goal. I didn't care that it's 1 second less, but it had to be within 5 hours. And I've done it. And the feeling when you cross the finish line, I really felt, it didn't matter that how many thousand people were running at the same time, but I really felt that I am on the top of the world. I felt like I'm an Olympic champion, and I'm like, oh my God, this is what these guys feel, that all those years work put in, and they achieved their goal. And that was very, very good. And it was very, very emotional, and I was so proud of myself. But one thing I haven't anticipated, that what's the next level. Because the next level is not necessarily to double that up and become an ultra runner. Because boy, I ain't gonna run 80 kilometers or like 2 marathons in one go. That's not me. That's doesn't interest me. There are people who do that, and my respect to them, but they enjoy it. I knew that I'm not gonna enjoy that, and there was not another goal there, you know. And what happened is, in fact, that I kind of like stopped running after running the very, very first marathon. The only thing I didn't stop is keep applying for races that I thought that I will never get into. And that was one of them was the New York Marathon. And I thought that I ain't gonna get into it. And yeah, well, $10, you know, that's fine, like charity money. And that was the initial application. But once you get into it, then they take about $350 straight of your account.
Wow.
Because part of the application that you have to give your account, well, your credit card details or debit card details. And if you are a winner, very similarly like in London, that if they draw you, then you have to pay, but it's different. There it's £350. So every January they open the registration, the draw. To get into the draw is like $10, and then if you are drawn out, then you pay the $350. So I applied because I was like, why not? Yeah. On the 8th of March, that's how I remember. 8th of March, I was coming back, and at the time I was working for this company that I mentioned to you. I was flying back from Hungary to here, and I got an email saying, congratulations, we have your money. Yes, get ready, November you are running the New York Marathon. I was like, oh shit, like, okay. Now, the exact opposite happened to me. I didn't prepare for it. So much so I didn't prepare for my second marathon that I think I went out running 3, maybe 4 times prior, 2 months prior the actual date. And I was in a complete denial. We said that, yeah, we're going to go to New York. And Gabor was like, okay, let's plan, how many days we're going to spend in New York. And I said that I don't want to hear about New York. I don't care about New York. I cannot be asked about it. I don't want to talk about it. And that was my end. After that, we didn't talk about it. I think probably a week before I printed out the
October, you didn't talk about it.
I didn't talk about it, but I think a week before I printed out the map where the marathon goes, and that was all my preparation, literally.
And 7K.
And I've done like 7K. That was the longest run I have done. And I went there, and it was very hard. It took him about 2 hours to get me prepared mentally and, like emotionally that, yes, you can do this. This is why you paid $350. And then I remember that we said goodbye at the ferry, which took me to Staten Island. And from there, I was on my own. I was like, all right, well, let's make the best of it. So I had a strategy. And my strategy was that try to run at least half of it. And then the second half, you can walk it. So that was my strategy. Interestingly, because it's a huge race, there are like 60,000 people in this race. It's the first 8 kilometers. I was so happy, and I so didn't feel it that I FaceTimed my parents that, hey, I'm in New York and I'm running the New York Marathon. And they were like, what? They didn't know about it, because obviously I didn't talk about it. I was in complete denial. And then I got to half point, then all these bridges started to come, and I never hated bridges so much in my life because they were the longest. One bridge was, for example, almost like 3 miles long, and they are very steep. I don't know whether you have been in New York or not, but these bridges, like you go up and then you go down, so it's, there is not like a stable kind of like flattish thing. And then we met. We had a strategy where we are meeting, and I was always there on time, and everything was fine until I got to Central Park, and that's everything was broken for me, like literally. I thought, because I knew Hyde Park, I compared Central Park to Hyde Park. Now, I knew how long is Hyde Park because I ran in it and ran around it quite a few times. So I was like, okay, well, it's kind of like gonna be the same. Like, it's a big park. Central Park is a big park. Yeah, it's effing big park. So it's much bigger than Hyde Park. And they directed us into the park. So we were not outside the outskirts of it, but inside of it. And I always thought that the next corner, when I turned, and finally I will see the people, and soon that finish line is going to be there. And I was very close to actually broke down and sit down and say that I'm not doing this anymore. Like, you know, I've been such an idiot. Like, this whole thing is crazy. When I saw that there is still 2 miles to go, that was it. I was like, there is no way I can do one more step. Like, literally nothing. I called him. I was in tears. And I was like, it hurts. Like, my body was hurting. And by then, I mean, New York Marathon is organized first weekend of November. It's cold. The sun went down. I was not a happy bunny. I cried and I said that I can't do it, and it took, I don't know how long it took him to just keep saying that yes, you can, you are able to do it.
Long 15 minutes.
And do not stop, because if you stop, and you are at this point when if you stop, then there is definitely you're not gonna get up, because it's gonna be harder to get up than actually just keep continuing and keep going. And eventually we finished the conversation, and I was like, okay, well, the finish line has to be somewhere here. And I finally found it, and I finally crossed it, and I do remember, and I blessed that woman. I was so rude to her, but I crossed the finish line, and I really just, all I wanted to sit down. There's nothing else. Drink, eat, sit down. Well, in the goodie bag, I got drink, I had food, so that was fine. It was cold. I got a nice poncho, so that was warming me up. And then I said that, where is the exit? Like, I want to leave this place. And then she goes like, you have to walk 2 more miles.
Oh my God.
And I said, F you. And eventually I went out, I found the bench, I sat down, I called him. I'm like, I'm sitting on the bench, come here now. And that was it. I don't know how long it took him to find me, but he did find me. By then I finished every food that I had in the goodie bag, and all the drinks and everything was gone. I was like, okay, ready to go home. But again, this is a lesson that not being prepared. You know, you have to be prepared. And you can't take business as well without preparation, without strategies, without risk analysis. It doesn't have to be complicated, but be prepared. Because then you know what's going to happen, and there are no surprises. The other thing is that I don't know what went on. I honestly, last hour, I don't really remember that, you know, how I went over this pain, this physical pain. But there is one thing I promise, that I would never do this again. So not running marathon. I might run a marathon again, but I'm gonna prepare for it. You know, I'm not gonna take it like it's not. You can't take. And I'm still wonder to people who go to the London Marathon and they running for a charity or whatever, and they never run in their lives, and they think that they can do it. Man, the next 2 days is going to be painful. It was painful for me. I was in the accommodation. I said to Gabo, you have to massage my legs because I couldn't walk next day. And I don't know what they were thinking next door because I just beat the pillow and I was just shouting as soon as he touched my legs because it was like so hard. And I don't want it to happen to anyone, let alone myself again. So I learned my lesson. But this is something that I always take away when I look at businesses, that, you know, is it something that you really want to do? Or not? Because if it's not something you want to do, then if there is no goal there, then why are you doing it? You know, because we put ourselves under so much pressure without actually realizing that it's us who putting us on a pressure. And there was something that mentioned in the book, and I think Benjamin, you tapped on it, that yes, you have to grab opportunities, but you have to examine that opportunity. Is it the right for you? And that's one thing that I realized in my entrepreneurial journey, that we get so many opportunities, like, you know, invest in this, invest in that. You know, this is really good idea, that is good idea. But if you are just starting up, or you started up but your first business is not there yet, then why you are taking another thing that can be painful to you, which can be putting pressure on you. And we've done that. We've been like, so many times we were saying yes, yes, yes to everything, and then we couldn't fulfill it. So that's something that a successful business person is successful, but it didn't happen in 1 year. You know? And you go out networking and you will meet so many interesting people and you will meet so many opportunities, but you have to take that which one is right for you. Can you actually do it? Can you have the laser focus on it? Because often that's what happens, that we don't have the focus. Once you have the focus on one thing, you know, multitasking ain't working. Multitasking is not working. Is you can't multitask. You either focus on one thing and you do it, or you are focusing on many things and then you realize your day is gone. And another thing I want to mention, and I would like to close it with this, that I think that today, and I personally blame the media, the social media for this, and that young people will see that success is about how much money you have in your bank account. It's about what cars are you driving. It's about whether you are traveling on first class or not. And when it comes to success, and throughout what we have done together and individually as well, I don't think that it really matters at how much money I have on my bank account. Can I live comfortably or not? Now, if you never had 100,000 pounds income in a year, then you only had less of that, then you don't know that how comfortably you could live from 100,000. Why do you really driving for the millions? You know, I'm not saying you shouldn't be, but have those 5K, have the 10K, have the half marathon, and then aim for the full marathon. You know, don't go for the full marathon straight.
Like milestones.
Yeah.
Exactly, milestone, and when you achieve that, then celebrate that. You know, you don't have to say yes to everything, like literally not. And sometimes saying no is the best decision you can make for yourself. And I think that yes, there are times when it's very tough, when you feel alone, because your family not supporting you. Because your family is maybe the negative people around you. I've been there. We made a decision where I stopped talking to my family for 6 months because they didn't really understood that what I'm going through, what I really want to achieve. And at the time I blamed them. It took me later to realize that I shouldn't be blaming them because this is what they know. This is how my parents were brought up. They were brought up in a different world. They have done their absolute best for me and my sister. So I can't blame them. But I had to draw a line, that there is one line that, I'm an adult, I know what I'm doing. Yes, am I going to make mistakes? Of course I'm going to make mistakes. It's not the problem that, you make mistakes. It's about whether you can get up and don't make the same mistakes over and over again.
Yes.
So when it comes to success, for me, success doesn't mean something materialistic. It means much more than when my clients send me a message and tells me that, whatever I paid to you, whatever you told me, I've already made the double back on social media. Then I say that, it's worth it. Because I can see that she is improving or he is improving. And this is, for me, much, much better than, that's how I define success. And I was writing down that how you guys define success individually. And I was thinking, but if we really take it seriously, then all of that combined is really success. You probably will not achieve everything at the same time, but that's fine because not everything has to happen at the same time. If you have this success here, you have the next success somewhere else, then that's fine, And sometimes, and I want to close it now. I was thinking that what if I think about my life, then what would be my first success? And I remember I was a small girl like that, and my grandma, despite that she was quite old, she was one of those women who would, at 70, she would still paint her nails bright pink. And she would still wear those big high heels, and she had these wonderful gold high heel shoes. I loved it. And I had a short hair at the time because my mom said that, girls have to have now short hair. So I put a blanket up, tied it up here, so I had long hair. And I put her high heels on. And I was kind of like dancing in front of her and my grandpa, and I was talking gibberish. And she asked me that, hey, what are you talking? And I said that, what, Grandma, one day I will speak English. And I will speak fluent English. And today I'm presenting to you in English. And I think that's the earliest memory I had as success. So I want to leave you with this. And when you go home, just think about that. What is the earliest memory you have as a success that you achieved on your own, but at the same time there were people who were helping you. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. If you have any questions, let me know.
Before you sit down, questions, comments from anybody, please.
You mentioned it was similar to that laser focus idea of having an idea and being very committed and focused to it. Would you say that that's one of the most fundamental principles to acquiring success? I say that because I remember when Blessing started this book club, and there were times when literally no one would turn up, and that would happen more than once. And if I was Blessing, I would have been freaked out and said, I'm not doing this anymore. But she just kept on going, and if anything, she would just like brainstorm, and then eventually people came, and as you can see now, there's branches, and people effortlessly turn up. So that stood out to me the most. And sometimes along the entrepreneurial journey, it can get a bit tiring.
I think it's lonely. Sometimes it's very, very lonely, and sometimes no one actually believes in you. And you have to be the believer. You have to believe in yourself that yes, you can do it. I know the feeling because I thought that I have my conference as well, which is very, very similar. Like in the first place, I get my family to come, even though they didn't speak English, and I had English speakers, and I told them, you have to enjoy it. Like, I'm not here. And I said, what I said? I'm like, I'm not even asking for Christmas present. Like, this should be and this was in June. I remember the month. I'm like, I don't want Christmas present. This should be my Christmas present. Please come to have crowd, you know. And I think that was one of the best presents I got, because later on I could show that, you know, there were people who came. Yeah, they didn't understand the language, but that's, you know, from the pictures, you not necessarily see that. And
Thank you.
yeah, he was taking pictures. Yeah, but that's something that you have to. This is where I think grind is and hustle is, and you put there. And I know that blessing in this instance is like, you know, this is probably what you wake up, what you go to bed with, and what is the new thing, what else I can do, you know, how I can get speakers, what topics, what books, and so on and so on and so on. But it's yours, you know, it's no one else's. And you have such a wonderful crowd who comes and believes in you. And I think that's the result there, that's the success there. Sometimes it's not about whether you can feel and do like a Tony Robbins UPW, because that might not be as personal. Here you can get personal.
Excellent.
To be fair, I mean, just to comment on that, every millionaire today had a journey. They didn't start, you know, whether it's Richard Branson, whether it's Tony Robbins, they didn't start off as millionaires. They worked towards it. I mean, I know Tony Robbins' story because I went to the UPW but a number of the others as well, you know, none of them, you know, Alan Sugar, etc. They all started off small, and then and I think it does require a particular mindset to reach those, because, you know, they all had challenges. Not everything they would have done would have been successful.
And I'll tell you one thing, that there are so many lows that you think that you would never ever experience, but you do experience it. And all these low moments, whether it's financially, whether it's your belief system, whatever that low would be to you, once you're able to overcome of it, and I think that you are the only person who can pull you out. Like, yes, there are people there who would support you to a certain level, but if you don't take the first step, and you have to take that first step, then everything will be all right, and then you are going to be so grateful that you experience that. This is something that I do in my mastermind, that I put together a video and I showed my people, my tribe, that this is how I did it. It's not rocket science, you know, but sometimes people just don't show that side.
Excellent. Orsi, I mean, for me, I think what I'm going to take away from what you said is the story you gave of the marathons and the times when you prepared, how it went, the times you didn't prepare and how it went. I think that's something that's definitely going to stay with me. So we want to thank you for sharing that journey with us.